Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope you're well. I hope you had a nice weekend. It's been kind of rainy here today. I have a very cool video that I just shot of some visitors to the deck in the back of Dandelion Cottage. So after the live video today, I'm going to upload that, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. But Dandelion Cottage is located in northwest Connecticut. We are in a tiny town, a hilltop town called Norfolk, and there is a lot of wildlife around here. It's lots of nature, lots of animals, lots of beautiful flowers, all the things that make my heart happy. And every so often I get some visitors that pass through the property, and it always makes me glad. So stay tuned for the video that I post immediately after this, because I think you're going to like that. Meantime, today we're going to be painting some raspberries. Now, I should have actually painted or picked these raspberries a couple of weeks ago to paint, because they are definitely past their prime, and I had to hunt in the raspberry bushes a lot to be able to find something that I could share with you. And so I found a couple of little berries that are sort of the wrong color, but we're going to fix that. I'm going to show you how you can do a little poetic license on your subject. So let me turn you down. Here they are, and I will zoom you in so you can get a better look. So you see, they're not really the beautiful raspberry red color that we would like them to be, but they've got a little bit of color on them, and they weren't too terribly misshapen. Last night I picked what I thought was the last one, and I gave it to Houdini as a special treat. He loves the raspberries, and if you don't know who Houdini is, he is my rooster, one of my roosters, and he's extremely affectionate and friendly and handsome, and we have a very nice time together in the evening going through the berries. So anyway, so I did manage to find these last two little berries, a little bit worse for wear. It doesn't look like they're going to ripen properly. Oops. Here we go. Okay, but still there's a lot of information here that we can include and make a cute picture. So the painting that I work on today, I'm going to be using for a greeting card, a note card. And I remember back in the day, many years ago, when I was an illustrator in New York City, before computers, I had a portfolio that I would carry from business to business to share my work, to see if I could get an illustration job. And one of the pictures that was in my portfolio was a picture of raspberries. And I sold that painting a long time ago. But every single time, and this used to amuse me so much, every single time I opened up my portfolio and the people would page through image after image after image, when they came to the raspberry picture, they always touched it. Their finger always touched the berry. So I think, you know, we are hardwired berry pickers, and people just love to see a nice juicy blueberry, raspberry, strawberry, whatever the case may be. And if you are interested in painting some subjects in your studio or at your kitchen table, whatever the case may be, I would really recommend that you go get a pint of berries, because they're a lot of fun to paint, and then after you're done painting them, you can eat them as is, or you could include them in some kind of a recipe. The other thing I want to share with you today are these brushes. So I got this set, and I haven't tried them yet. It was very inexpensive, so I'm a little skeptical, but they came all together in this little travel pouch, and they are travel watercolor brushes. And you just unscrew the brush and then screw it back into the cover, and you have a nice little brush that you can take with you when you go on trips or out for the day of painting, whatever the case may be. They're supposed to be natural bristles, and as I said, I haven't tried them yet, so we're going to take them for a little test drive today. So I'm just going to go ahead and open them all up and see what they look like. They were very, very inexpensive. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm sourcing tools and materials for my my watercolor subscription box, which I haven't really talked about very much yet. It's sort of in the works. I don't know exactly what's going to be in the boxes just yet, but I will be making those decisions very soon, and when I do, I'm going to open up the waiting list. So if you're interested in joining the subscription box and learning how to paint new subjects every month and having some goodies delivered to your home, you'll want to stay tuned for that. So while I'm putting all the pieces together, if you'd like, you can go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage, because that's where I will be making the big announcement. So get on my mailing list for Notes from Dandelion Cottage. If you're watching on Facebook, the link is above in the banner. It says sign up. Just click on that. Give me your name and email, and you will be one of the first to be notified about the new subscription box. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm planning to launch on October 1st, which sounds like a ways away, but it's actually just a couple of months, so not very far in the future, and just in time for the fall. So, okay, so let's get started. I'm going to grab a pencil, so I just have a number 2 pencil, and I'm going to take my specimen, and I'm just going to put this where I can see it, and so that it's illuminated nicely. And I think what I want to do is find a piece of paper here, because I want to put this on a white background. This is a card base, so I don't want to use that. What do I have handy? Here's something. Okay, this is just an old envelope that I have on my desk here. So there we go. So the light in my studio is coming from the upper left corner. This is a north light studio. If you have a north light window in your home, that is the best possible light you can have, because it stays consistent throughout the day. And I'm just setting this up so that the shadow is falling on the right side, and that I can see a little bit of the highlights that are being picked up by the fruit. And I also have this wonderful little dried up piece of stem where there was a berry before, and a little tiny leaf over here. I've got the 2 other berries that are branching off from this stem. I've got a cluster of 3 leaves over here, and then I've got this bigger cluster of 3 leaves here. I've got a second group of leaves in the back, but I'm probably not going to be doing those. I'm just going to keep this simple for today. Now I just want to check my settings, make sure that you can see and hear me. that looks pretty good, and I see there's some people out there. So hi Kelly, hi Sandra, hi Cheryl. Cheryl says I think she meant to say I love my travel brushes. Yeah, they're great. The brushes that have the handles are really wonderful. If you have a watercolor brush that you want to travel with that doesn't have the case to protect the bristles, I've found that a toothbrush container, a travel toothbrush container, works very well because it also has that hole that's pierced in the lid so that you can get some ventilation in there. Now, I've got my watercolor paints here, yellow, red, and blue. I'm going to keep this super, super simple today. Move these things out of the way so we can get the palette down here. And I'm going to do my quick sketch, so I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better, but I'm going to be working very lightly. Okay, and so my main concern as I begin sketching the berries is to make sure that I get my focal berries, the ones that I want my viewer to be looking at, located on the page in a way that's not too close to the edges. I don't want the viewer's eye to go off the edge of the page. So in this case, I'm doing a very straightforward composition where I have the berries kind of centrally located, but also not right in the center. So slightly off center to make it a little more interesting. And I want to pay attention to the structure of the stem. Make sure that that's fairly accurate. And then it kind of travels over here and off the page. I'm also paying attention to the center of the leaves. So the center vein of the leaf is very important when you're drawing these botanical subjects, because that helps to describe the direction that the leaves are pointing in. Now, do you have to copy exactly the way it is? No, you don't. But you do want to have an accurate representation of your subject so that they're identifiable. All right, so I've got my composition pretty well mapped out, and then I've got in the background, I've got this big leaf, and that's coming down through here, going behind this berry. Now here's a case, if I was to copy the leaf just as it appears, it would go off the corner or the edge of the paper, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to curve it slightly, give it a little more of a design to keep it on the page. Now, the other thing about the leaves is that they have a wonderful serrated edge, and there's a little place on this leaf where maybe a bug nibbled the edge of it, so there's a little shape that's been chewed out of it. All of that adds additional interest. And then finally I've got this leaf in the back. Okay, now I know it doesn't look like much right now, but once I start getting some paint on here, it will be fine. I've left an area over here for my sentiment because, as I mentioned, I will be using this as a note card. So I may decide to add a label over here, or I might write something, or whatever the case may be. For now, I'm just going to concentrate on the painting, and also to see how these new brushes work. So I'm starting with a very pale yellow wash. There's a little bit of red in my yellow, and I don't mind that. That's okay. It's kind of a warmed up red, yellow-ish tone. So there's my first wash, and that extra moisture is going to go into the paper and moisten it, so that as I add additional strokes of color, it's going to have a kind of a soft edge, which is what I'm looking for at this point. Now I want to make sure that I keep couple of places for the highlights of my berries. And then I'm going to start adding a little green to my leaves, and that green can mix in to the yellow that I've already got down on the paper. Now, this little baby leaf cluster of 3 is a more yellow, a lighter green. So I'm just going to go around that for now. And then the other thing that I'm watching for is where the highlights and the shadows are on the rest of these leaves. So I'm being careful to just add green, the darker tones, in the shadow areas, and I'm going to let that sort of yellowish green remain in the areas where the light is striking. All right, so in just a couple of minutes, I've already got my composition sort of mapped out, and now what I'm doing is I'm taking some of my yellow and my blue, and I'm mixing it together, and this time I'm mixing up a green that's a little bit darker, so a little more blue in the mixture, and I can just drop that into the areas where the shadows are. And just kind of let that color move where it wants to, and of course I can take with a clean brush, I can just push that paint around a little bit, help it along. All right, so I'm going to let the green areas settle in, and while that is drying, I'm going to go back to my berry. I'm grabbing a little more of that beautiful red with a drop of yellow in it, and I'm just doing the same thing. I'm going to leave the light areas alone, and I'm just getting into the shadow areas. Now, where this berry is in shadow and it's meeting the shadow on the leaf, I'm just going to let that kind of run together and create a beautiful soft edge, and let that be a little mysterious in the shadows. Okay, I don't want to delineate that too much. I just want that sort of soften out and blend together. And the other thing that I'm looking at is that there are some places on my stem where the berries that are gone have now turned brown and are dried up. So I'm mixing a brown mixture. I'm just starting with a light brown mixture, and to do that I'm mixing all three colors together. So this is my yellow, red, and blue, and I'm using the tip of the brush to just indicate that kind of dried up little sepal area on the twig there. Now I'm finding that these brushes are making a pretty good point, and that's what you want to look for in a watercolor brush. You want a brush that's able to hold a good amount of water and that will hold its shape and form a very nice point. So I don't know how close I can get this to the camera. But that's not bad. Not bad for a very inexpensive brush. And this brush says that it's size 8. Now, there is no regulations about the exact sizes of watercolor brush. So something that may be a size 8 from one manufacturer may be different with another manufacturer, but it gives you an idea. They're fairly close. They're just not exact. And I would say that for a number 8, this is definitely on the small size. If I look at this one is called a 12. There's no way that's a 12. That's closer to an 8 or a 10. So if you do see these inexpensive brushes online or wherever, just know that the sizes may not be what you expect. But for doing these little nature studies like I do here on the in the videos, these brushes are just fine. Now I'm going back into my green. I'm taking a darker blue-green, and I'm going to test. I'm just going to put a stroke and see how well the paper will hold the stroke. And it's okay. It's still wet, so I'm still getting a soft edge, but I'm able to get a little more control over the stroke. And don't forget that the edge of your leaf, even though it's very thin and it's flat, it does have a dimension. And so on the shadow side, I can begin to use this darker color just to indicate some of that serrated edge. And I can use the same color to add my stem to the big leaf. And let's see if I can get some veins over here, a little bit. Get my cast shadow. Now I'm looking at this stem that is attached to the newer, smaller leaves, and I can see that there's a lot more yellow in there, so just adding a tiny bit more yellow to my brush. Get that started. This one going off into the distance. And I'm going to take my blue and my red, and I'm mixing a blue-violet, and if I put that into my brown mixture that I started before, so a little more yellow, that will tone that down so it doesn't look like such a bright color, and I can use that to indicate some of the shadow areas. Get a nice rich dark. Okay. Getting the character of this leaf, just kind of indicating the sawtooth edge there. And these leaves also have a little kind of a lobe once they mature, so a little extra lobe on either side. There we go. Now, I'm going to get over to this leaf, give that a little attention. I'm leaving a little bit of the vein unpainted, so in other words the lighter color, that original pale yellow that I started the underpainting with. And I'm making my way around that tiny little cluster of leaves, so I'm just painting the leaf that's behind it. And that's partly in shadow, so that can get a little darker. Now, if you like, after your painting is dry, you can go back in with a soft kneaded eraser and you can remove your pencil lines. It depends on the look that you're interested in. Sometimes I like the addition of the pencil lines because it helps to show that it's a quick sketch, and it has a kind of a lively, spontaneous feel to it. And sometimes I want to do a more careful study and just have it look very finished without the pencil line. So it's, you know, entirely up to you what kind of feeling you're hoping to capture in your painting. All right, so at this stage, I've got most of the areas mapped out. I can see where my lights and my darks are. I can see the basic overall shapes of the leaves. And all I need to do now is just improve the color and just tighten up my drawing a little bit so that it reads well. And so what I'm doing now is I've got a brush filled with red paint, and it's fairly dry, and I'm going to use that to start to pick out some of the texture on these berries, and being careful to keep those little highlights light. And in this area where the berry turns into shadow, I can go full strength with my red, and I'm just adding a little extra color into that area. When the picture is entirely dry, I can go over some of these areas and glaze even brighter color, should I choose to. But I think for this little study, I'm just going to leave it. Now these berries are no longer the perfect raspberry shape, and that's okay. They don't have to be perfect. In fact, it's more interesting to see them when they're not so perfect, I think. Now this berry has a lot of yellow still on it, so I'm not going to put any red in the light areas. I'm just gonna let that all blend together. All right, I'm going to try the smaller brush, see how this one does. This one is called a number 4. It looks more like a number 2 to me. So just like the others, it looks like it's running on the smaller side. And I'm going to see if I can get some of these veins indicated in these leaves. All right, so we're just about done here. indicate a little of that leaf edge. Now, I've left this tiny cluster of leaves kind of unpainted, and the reason for that is because the surrounding area is a little too damp right now for me to be able to go in there. I want to make sure that it stands out from the leaf behind it. So I'm just going to leave that for the minute, and once it's entirely dry, I can go over it with my yellow-green color and get that set up how I want it. And then finally, the last thing I want to do is take a nice dark green. So I'm mixing my yellow and my blue, and this time with the addition of a little bit of red in there is going to give me a nice rich dark, and I can reassert that cast shadow of the berry on the leaf. And just give that a nice soft edge. Alright, so I'm gonna stop there with the painting, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom you out a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I would quickly assemble a note card. So I've got a beautiful dark neutral that I just got water on. Block that up, and I'm going to go ahead and score that fold down so it lays flat. And then for the inside of my card, I have this layer that I'm just going to glue down on the inside so I have a place to write a message. And for that, I'm just going to dot a little bit of glue around the edges. Because it's so warm today, the glue's coming out pretty fast. So I'm just dotting. And then get that situated so it's nice and straight. Give that a good burnish. Okay, I've got my matching envelope here. When this is dry, I'll adhere this to the front of the card, and then I have the Pebbled Path ink, which matches the cardstock exactly, and I'll be able to use that to stamp my sentiment. Now, I haven't decided what I want to use this card for yet, so I'm not sure exactly, but if I wanted to put a little label over in this corner where I left this space, that would work nicely. If I wanted to add any kind of embellishment, I could do that. I also have some heat embossing powders, so if I wanted to put a little sparkle on there, I could do that as well. So one last tip for you today. I wanted to share one of my favorite things to do. This is a piece of wrapping paper from a Ferrero Rocher candy, and if you'd like to add a little gold embellishment behind your painting, you could do that too. And so that would look something like that. All right, so that could be a lot of fun to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. I got some. Let me show you what you do when you've got a little bit of paint on your finger and it gets on your card. Just wet it, blot it, and you're good to go. So if you're interested in learning more about the new subscription box Watercolor Card Club, it's going to be a lot different from what the Watercolor Card Club that I've been offering for the past couple of years has been. It's going to have more things in the box that you receive in the mail. I'm going to be sharing an unboxing with you so that you can get an idea of what's in the starter kit, because if you are new to watercolor painting and you are looking for some inexpensive tools to help you get started, I'm going to have everything you need in the box ready to go. You just add water and you'll be on your way. So if that sounds interesting to you, please go to DandelionCottageDesign.com and subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and the information about the upcoming waiting list will be there very soon. So please do that, and I will also be posting the links for you to click on them on my YouTube channel, in the description, and also here on my Facebook channel up above in the banner. So thank you so much for joining me today. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.